welcome back to my channel, and of course if you're new here, thank you for clicking on this video. I'm Njoli Coco and I'm currently sitting on my sofa just thinking about how much this community has grown over the last several months, and the fact that each of you have decided to join my YouTube journey. I just want to start off by saying a massive thank you, because it means so much to me, honestly. So in today's video, I want to talk all about self-love. Now, I know this is a topic that has been championed a lot over the years, and I think we all have a general idea of what self-love is, which is having regards for one's own well-being and happiness. But I would love to put my own spin on self-love today, because for someone who's recently got to grips on how to practice this and also just maintain a state of self-love, I'm not gonna lie, it's been pretty transforming on every level and arguably life-changing too. So I'm hoping by me sharing my insights and any lessons learned, it can also help you if you're working on self-love. I just got my tea back in my hand, but I was just thinking that when I think about my own journey with self-love, it's definitely not been a linear process, and I've come to realize that rather than self-love being a destination, it's an actual journey. And before I became intentional about really loving myself and understanding what this practice looks like, I used to be so self-critical. It just made it so hard to celebrate who I am. And looking back, I see how so much of my life was a reflection of that too, particularly living in a culture where we're made to compare ourselves or feel inadequate in who we are. I feel like it's easy for our minds to become conditioned to negative self-talk, and then as a result, we feel insecure and just discourage ourselves. But thinking about my whole experience, I realized it took me to hit rock bottom, literally, before my breakthrough began, because it was only then I realized, I was like, damn, things really needed to change. And I started to see how the lack of high regard I had for myself also fed into the type of connections I made and the opportunities I went for. So one of the first things that helped to prompt my self-love journey was actually my faith. It definitely helps to combat the negative self-talk, because rather than me seeing myself through the views of the world and all the negative labels out there, I began to take a step back and home in on how magnificent it is to be a part of that source of creation. And as cringy as it sounds, we're far more precious than the world actually makes us feel. And the Bible constantly reminds me of this in Psalm 139, that I am wonderfully and fearfully made. And I know everyone has their own beliefs and points of view, but this is mine. And I feel like it would be so wrong for me to downplay how important my faith has been in my self-love journey. It's been a total mind shift, and I'm now going to share a few ways of how I now put these lessons into action. So in the act of self-love, a way I have learned to become my own best friend is by thinking about the relationships I have with people I love and care about, and reflecting those same practices towards myself. So this may involve making quality time for myself, advocating for myself, or just displaying trust or kindness towards who I am. Sometimes I think how good this makes other people feel when it's done to them. So I began to ask myself, why can't I give these things to myself as well? So for me, I do this by finding moments I may feel good and actually just standing in front of the mirror and practicing positive affirmations. At first it's a bit like,
what the hell am I doing?
But over a long period of time, I've actually begun to see the benefits, and also how my behavior towards myself has positively changed. Because rather than seeing myself in first person and always thinking me, I began to see myself in third person and ask myself, what is it that Njoli Coco needs? What is it that makes her feel good? And for me, this may involve immersing myself in activities, going to the gallery independently and looking at art because I love art. It's just being able to feel secure in my own identity and find peace within my presence without having to search outside of myself for anything to fulfill that. Sometimes I think it's really good just to know that we can meet our own needs, because then if anything or anyone comes into that space, we can appreciate it and know that it's complementary, not a necessity. Now, boundaries. We've all heard about boundaries, and boundaries are a fundamental part of self-love because it sets you apart from receiving less than you deserve. And we often refer this back to relationships, but it's honestly a lot broader than that. It's also to do with the type of opportunities you do or don't go for, and just the environment you cultivate for yourself. We all set boundaries for different reasons, and some boundaries we set ourselves is room to help us grow, and then there are other things we adjust our boundaries for that really shouldn't have any presence in our life. But like I said, boundaries is an act of self-love, and we should all have boundaries. But in setting them, it's important to know what boundaries are working for you and against you. So an easy example I can give is being in a relationship that doesn't meet your basic needs. Now, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. I am not a relationship expert. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do in their relationship. I'm just trying to paint a picture, and hopefully you will get my example. So knowing your basic needs are not being met in your relationship and not wanting to communicate that, by you setting that boundary upon yourself, it doesn't allow you and your partner to work together for your relationship to evolve to that next level. But on the other hand, how a boundary can work for you in this circumstance is knowing that you've communicated time and time again and there's no change. Rather than going around in circles with the same problem, you can put a stop to something that doesn't serve you and take action to reinvent a space that does. Now, this goes back to what I was saying before about being your own best friend, because I've learned when I'm able to show up for myself in the way that I would for a friend, I'm in a much better space to give myself what it is that I want. Now, I know everyone's practice with self-love will look and feel different, but like I said before, self-love is all about having regards for one's own well-being and happiness, and it's important to be able to find a balance on how to meet our own needs, because when we're able to love ourselves, we're able to love others too. And not only that, when we're able to love ourselves, others are able to learn how to love us in that same way. So it's important to be able to hold ourselves to that high regard, because we're in a much better place to attract better things into our life because of that self-love. So I hope you have found this video valuable, and most importantly, you have enjoyed listening. If you've stuck along to the very end, you're honestly a trooper. Thank you very much. I will see you all in my next video, and I hope you take care. Bye.